Welcome back to Behind the Tab, a GoTab produced podcast that dives into the evolving world of hospitality through the lens of technology, creativity, and community. Each episode spotlights the game changing innovations, real world operator stories, and GoTab's own team members who are redefining what it means to serve and scale in modern food and beverage. In today's episode, we continue our conversation with Seth Burtis, COO of 5 and 5 Hospitality. Let's jump right back in. Well, the beauty and the way I've always looked at it, especially with self-service kiosks and even like QR ordering and what have you, is that that technology shouldn't be replacing the human element. It shouldn't be replacing the hospitality. It should be adding to it. And if it's not doing that, if it is replacing, and in my mind, you're doing it wrong, or you're not taking advantage of what the technology can provide to you. You're just trying to find kind of a loophole or like a shortcut. And when you do too many, everybody listening knows, if you're an operator, if you do too many shortcuts, that ends up biting you in the butt at some point or another.
You got to reuse that labor, right? We don't want to get rid of the labor. We want them to focus on making the food great. And we want to make sure we're serving our customers and we have a clean restaurant and all these things are happening. And kiosk is not the right fit for every restaurant. Sure. I hope you'll ever get to a point where you walk into a table service restaurant, there's a kiosk, because I would be very sad, because I still love going out and sitting down at a table and ordering and having a server and have that engagement with them. So it's not the right fit for everyone. And there's some concepts that are even a QSR perspective that will probably never adopt kiosks because they have that engagement part of what they want to do, right? When you look at some of the coffee chains, if they ever just put in a kiosk, well, what am I, there's no human interaction, right? Some of those concepts are such a human interaction, so driven by that interaction, that they're not going to have that same frequency if you remove that from the flow.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that, you talked about labor and what have you, but on the flip side, guests have become a lot more price sensitive as well. So with this added technology, typically there's also the opportunity for operators to either pass on some of that cost, raise their prices, whether it be surcharging or some other kind of price additions to, like, when they look at the tax breakdown, it includes a bunch of other little charges. But that also, you also get what you pay for. In many situations, you get what you pay for. So if you get a better experience, if you have a more complete experience from a guest perspective, maybe that's worth it. But would you think that, the guests in general have a different set of expectations, even though they are more price sensitive?
Yeah, I would say they do nowadays. I think customers do have a different set of expectations in terms of how technology should function. And obviously everyone's cost sensitive, right? When you look at third-party systems like DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub, those many brands are upcharging so much on those platforms that people didn't realize, right? For many years, it was only people in technology that were realizing like how big of a price difference there was from ordering in store versus ordering on third party, and then even online, right? You look at some brands like a Waffle House. I love Waffle House. They charge me a 20% service fee to order online, right? And which is just crazy. And I'll pay it because I love Waffle House and I don't want to go in and have to order, right? And so there are some restaurant brands where it makes sense, right? And they can get away with it. But there are others where I feel like it really becomes a detriment. And so you get to a point where your prices are so high, I'm not going to pay $21 for a cheeseburger on DoorDash, right? I'm going to go to somewhere else, then I'll get in my car, and now you're losing me because I don't want to drive 20 minutes to you, right? And so there is that, I think, that break point for operators and restaurant chains of you can't go beyond a certain price point, especially for some of these certain concepts that are QSR driven, are supposed to be value friendly, right? If you get to a point where you're not value friendly as a restaurant brand and you're supposed to be, there's a problem, right? Now, who are you as a restaurant? Who are you going after? And so, yeah, I think they've definitely become price sensitive to it. I think tipping as well has gotten really out of control with a lot of these QSR brands where, across the board, they're asking for tipping. And I think that does turn people away a little bit of, why am I ordering at a kiosk for you to call my name, for me to pick up my food, for me to throw my trash away? Who am I tipping? Am I supplementing the income of this restaurant chain? Like, I can't, that doesn't make sense to me, right? And I'm a very generous tipper, and I always still give them a dollar or two, but it feels like I'm being guilted into it. So I do think
there's always the fear that somebody's looking over the top of your shoulder and being like, what's he going to press? What's he going to press?
And I want to help out, right? I understand that all these people are young and they're trying to make money, and they're probably not paid that much hourly. So I want to help out where I can. But at the same time, the restaurant's not charity, right? We're coming here as a customer to enjoy food and to try to, everyone's trying to watch their spending these days. And so it is an interesting one for me as labor laws change. Hopefully that kind of goes away if people are getting paid what they need to get paid to earn a living income. And I'm also okay to tip people if they do something for me, right? You bring me my drink, if you throw my food away, you do something, like I can entertain a tip.
Tips wasn't just a word that was just created. Tip stands for to ensure prompt service, right?
Yes,
So
exactly.
there's a reason it exists in the first place. I think you have just opened up the floodgates to a completely separate podcast, Seth. That we could go on for another
I get a few
hour.
people on that one and commiserate together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been waiting tables, tending bar, operating for my entire adult life. Since I think the first place that I was working where it was actually tips back in 2002, 2004, and I've been doing it ever since. So I have, a very, ingrained idea of what, constitutes as what should be tipped and what shouldn't, what maybe doesn't necessarily need to be tipped. But your technology can also help you with that. Like you shouldn't have, all right, in my opinion, you shouldn't be utilizing a system that forces a tip prompt in every circumstance, right?
Absolutely.
You should be able to pick and choose when that tip prompt shows up. If you walk up to the counter on that customer facing display, maybe there doesn't need to be a tip prompt. But if I am sitting down in a restaurant and I get served at a table and then I get handed a device to make my payment on, sure, that makes complete sense. Or if I'm still, signing a slip or whatever, it shouldn't print up on that in those right environments. So if your technology is able to do
even
that,
even the amounts, right?
yes.
I think some people will do percentage based in a QSR environment. I'm like, you want me to tip you $6 on a pickup order, right? Like on a QSR? No, it doesn't make any sense, right? Why isn't it just a small tip, $1, $2, $3, or nothing, right? And I also shouldn't have to hit other and then type in 000, right? That's another thing that drives me crazy. But absolutely, it's all about kind of how you're presenting that to the customer too, right? And like you said, and if it's a catering order, of course, that's a tippable event, situation. If it's a sit down order, of course. But yeah, I think it's about how you're presenting that tips to them and what it's really, how it's really being justified to them as a why it's needed.
Yeah, again, I'll throw a plug in here, I guess. GoTab has the ability to do that with different what we call zones, right? So in every zone of your restaurant, you'll be able to choose what the percentages are, whether you prompt at all, and then when they actually show up.
That's
and
awesome.
So you're being able to accommodate those online orders with maybe a lower tip prompt versus the dine-in orders at your standard 18 to 25%, whatever that range might be. So knowing that you have the ability to do so, we went on a decent little tangent here. I think the other thing that I hear a lot about is, like, again, going back to like more dine-in environments, is the idea we kind of touched on. It's like looking over your shoulder and be like, hey, what's he going to tip? It's like that happens so often in dine-in restaurants, especially with like pay at the table and what have you. Like servers are just kind of sitting in certain situations. You see servers just kind of like, and they're just standing there staring at you like, what are they going to do? Like, do you ever run into locations that just don't want to use handhelds because of that, and they continue to go with like drop the paper receipt, and like the trends that kind of revolve around that?
Yeah, it's so interesting you bring that up. I have one that comes to mind very much so, that they were rolling out tablets, and some of their staff that had been there for a while were very much not using it, and they were actually only using it for the check part, right? Because they actually liked that part because they felt that they got more tips when they handed them the tablet and waited, right? And so they were actually taking the orders on the chip, going back to the POS, entering the order, and then at the checkout saying, here, now I'm going to use this technology that my corporate office bought for me just to secure my tip. So that restaurant, we worked with them many times, and what we ended up actually doing is saying, let's get rid of some of those terminals. Let's get rid of them. Let's force the hand into them using the device for what it should be. But absolutely, I definitely think that, I think the corporate team has to realize the sentiment of the customer, right? Because of course the operator who's getting more tips, the server who's getting more tips, is going to continue to push that narrative, versus when you're starting to look at sentiment and realizing, why are we getting frequency, right? Why aren't people coming back? especially in a table service environment, what did we change, right? And so I don't have data on that feeling, but I can tell you from my own perspective, I absolutely hate when someone comes up and just stands there and waits. I'm tipping 20% no matter what, unless you're really, really good, then I'll go above and beyond. But that's kind of my mindset. I think some other brands are doing a much better job in terms of, on the table kiosk. I used to never be a big fan of the kiosk, but I actually went to Texas Roadhouse for the first time in 20 years, I guess, and I had an amazing experience. Service was amazing, food was great. They had the kiosk for the checkout, made my checkout very easy. And when we were ready to go, we could boom, tap the card, select the tip, and we're out, right? And so I really liked that experience. I didn't feel like someone was watching over my shoulder. So I think it can be done correctly, but you shouldn't be standing there waiting for someone to tip you, drop it off, walk away, go do something else.
Yeah, what we find a lot too in working with a lot of our partners at GoTab is the ability to be able to give access to the tab from the start, which is very different than your almost expected experience when you walk into any kind of sit down full service restaurant. You don't expect to give your payment information until the end, right? Like, okay, I have your check, here's my card. When you flip that on the side and you provide them the opportunity to, hey, put my card down on file, like you were going to a bar and like start your tab type of thing, you don't actually have to worry about that. And with GoTab, you have the ability to, text the tab to the guests so that they can see it as they're ordering. It doesn't take away the hospitality. It adds to it. And again, it also does everything a handheld is supposed to do and then some. It allows for faster table turns, and no one's looking over your shoulder when you are making that final payment. I can do it from the parking lot. Like, I don't have to do it from the table.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. The restaurant, it's crazy, that technology. You'll see that technology and obviously more small brands. There's one bar I go to that has that, and I love it. So it's a great experience every time. It's easy to engage. And it helps them as well from an operator standpoint, keep a lean, small team, because they're not doing all these little endpoints that they're having to go print a receipt, bring it to the table. Like it frees up so much bandwidth.
Well, let's just save the trees and then print the least amount of receipts as possible.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about the process that goes through, right? You're going to print a receipt, to bring it back with a pen, having to sign it, and then you're still going to have to go back and input that tip back into the point of sale later. So there's so many additional steps that come that people, you really don't understand what you're eliminating when you implement something like that. And the fact that you guys have that available as like a native feature, I'm sure is very much appreciated by your customers.
What I think is the thing that surprises me the most is how many places still rely on a signature, whether it be on the screen or, God forbid, on a piece of paper, just because it's already been shown and proven that, signatures don't matter because you can write. I put an X. I just put an X. It doesn't do anything for you except acknowledge. It's like, this isn't a contract. Like, this isn't like, you're not going to get notarized.
Funny. If they ever had to go figure out if my signature was real, they'd have a hard time. I think I do a different one every single time. Sometimes it's just a line across, right? It depends on how many margaritas I've had that day. And sometimes they'll get to a point where it's just ridiculous. But no, I fully agree with you there.
Let's close out here. We talked a lot about what has happened, what we are currently seeing happen. But Seth, I want to get your take on what's happening next. So I want to give you an opportunity to kind of predict with conviction, like something I'm sure you've thought about this already, and you continue to think about this. Like we talked about from 2019 to today, as we're entering 2026. If we fast forward 2, 3, 4, 5 years, 28, 29, 30, 2030, that is. What are the biggest ways do you think hospitality is going to look different than what we currently see today?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways. I think definitely, like we touched on a little bit on the kiosk and the drive-through ordering, and with AI, I think it's going to be huge, right? Everyone's throwing out the word AI as a buzzword, but that is their true place. I think that we'll see AI grow. It's one of the ways we'll see it grow is in the drive-through and invoice ordering and stuff like that. And as a real good footing, I think, with QSR drive-through. I think beyond that, I think AI is going to be an interesting thing when it comes to like guest sentiment and customer engagement. I think being able to implement like an AI solution into your loyalty system and really gain insights about who your customers are, where they're engaging, where they're not engaging, when you would have to have multiple people or one person pulling together 6 different reports and marrying them for you every day to get that same data that AI can just go grab for you in a very quick way. I think it's going to be amazing. But I think, outside just technology, I do think we'll see a slim down in offerings. I think, the world has gotten so big with restaurant brands and so many different concepts. I do really think we'll see some more acquisitions. I think You've seen recently there's a lot of brands that are acquiring other similar brands, merging them into them, and then that original concept's going away. I think we'll see that in the hospitality and restaurant space continue. And then beyond that, I think technology, we'll see, some of these vendors, legacy vendors, I think they'll start to go away. I really do. I think some of these traditional point of sale providers who aren't adopting with times are going to lose their footing, and they're really going to start getting way to these cloud point of sales, and cloud point of sale is going to be everywhere. We're not going to have the situation where some of this legacy systems in place, which I think is really going to open up the doors and open up technology capabilities. When in the past, if you were a small restaurant, you're running Aloha, if you want to add a handheld, you're spending $10,000, right? Versus now they can go to someone like you and others, right? There's other people out there, but to be able to go to someone and have a low barrier of entry and still be able to have all these pieces of technology that otherwise felt out of reach, I think is going to continue to happen. I don't think you can continue operating in a system where you're just taking orders on a piece of paper, entering them in a classic point of sale, and you have a clunky online ordering system. Those restaurants will die, and we'll get to a point where the more advanced technology restaurants today are going to be the base level, right? And I think technology is going to continue to grow and really take foot into restaurants. I think another area I'll see is app ordering. I don't think app ordering is going to stay here long term. I think everyone keeps talking about what does that look like in the future, and so I think it will be less app ordering and more, your phone will order for you, right? You'll just tell it, hey, I want my usual from XYZ, and you don't have to go on the app and order anymore. I envision the future of like all my glasses will be Tony Stark, and I'll have my person that I can talk to all day and tell it what I want to do and how my plan is. And so I'm really curious to see how native apps change in the future and how engagement with customers can change, because for many brands, apps are their way to engage with customers and to push offers and to drive up hype. So I'm curious to see how that kind of changes over the next 5 years.
I agree completely with the app thing, just because I just had this conversation with one of my coworkers the other day. It's like, if the real estate on my phone is really important to me.
Yeah.
And if I know I'm going to use it on a regular basis, you can have the corner spot in the bottom right corner of my phone. But if I'm going to, use it once or twice in the next 3 months, you're not getting on my phone. And so this goes into like the idea of the kiosks as well. They're kind of in your face and what have you. Do you see, I see it this way. I want to get your take on it though. Like the technology that ends up increasing in usage is going to be the one that blends in. It's not going to be the one that stands out. And yeah, do you have a take on that?
Absolutely. I think the ones that struggle the most is when they inject this technology and they make it feel unnatural, right? Whether it's like the placement of the kiosk, right? I have such a pet peeve about this. Like the placement of the kiosk has to be a natural guest flow, right? It has to be where your customers, if you're trying to push kiosk ordering, when your customers walk in the door, it has to feel like that kiosk is where I'm naturally supposed to walk to. There's no friction points. It guides me right to it. It can't be at walk in to the right, the kiosk. Doesn't make sense. The line's forming straight ahead, right? And so I think one of the things I always say, it's hard to retrofit some restaurants into having kiosks, but I think one of the easiest way to do is if you're taking the order at the register, that register is now a kiosk, right? Remodel that area and make it feel kiosk friendly, right? Whether it's a banner up top of order here with a sign with an arrow down, right? Marketing material around it. Put your menu boards above the kiosk. That way when they come over, it's a natural experience. It's just like I'm ordering from a person, but instead of ordering from a person, I'm touching a kiosk. So I definitely think that, how you're marketing it and how you're presenting it, and even the hardware, right? It can't look like rinky-dink hardware. It has to look like this looks nice. Like I want to go play with this, right? It has to be responsive, and it has to feel, your grandma's got to be able to use it. I always say that, like grandma's got to be able to use it, but your nephew's got to be able to use it, right?
Sure.
You both have to enjoy it, and so you got to find that blend between not overdoing the technology, making it too hard to understand, but also not underdoing it to not impress the younger crowd.
You nailed it when you were talking about like it has to be placed in a spot that feels natural, because I'll be honest, especially from my experience, people don't read signs. They don't read signage. They shouldn't have to. One, so I get that. But like, if you think that you can just put up a sign saying, "Hey, go this way," or "Check in here," or this or that or whatever, it seems fine in your mind. but in practice, people do not look at signs. They don't
Look at the
read signs.
airport. Look
Yeah.
at the airport. Go to the airport, and you'll see no one reads anything, right?
Yeah.
They don't know where their bags are. They got to talk to somebody. It's a disorganized mess. That's humans. We just don't read.
Yeah.
It should be right in our face, and we don't want to read it, right? We don't read things often until someone points something out. So no, I absolutely agree. You can't try to force a customer into doing. It can't be multi-stepped. It has to be very natural and clear to them, to where they can walk in, not speak English, and go, I know what to do. I don't need to read anything. I can just walk right to where I need to go because it's so obvious.
Perfect. All right. I think I've held you here longer than maybe we expected to, but I just think the conversation has been is bringing back so many both fond and bad memories of my operating days. And just like it actually leads me to this actual final question. And
Yeah.
I want you to kind of explain, give me one, like you guys have been 5 and 5 has been doing what you've been doing for, the better part of the last decade. And you've had some success. You've had to have had some failures as well, or at least some struggles. I won't use the word failures, not the right word. Struggles is probably the right word, where you try to implement something and it just isn't adopted, or it just is, you get too much pushback, or it just was the wrong choice. So I'll let you end on the positive note by giving me a success story. But I want you to start off telling me, give me an example of a situation in which you came in, consulted in an area that ultimately just either wasn't the right fit for the operations that you were consulting, or just was just not well received.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, straight up failures. We don't have many of them. I hate to say that. But yeah, I mean, there's one like that sort of comes to mind, which is kind of touched on a little bit earlier. It was around the kitchen rollout for a specific table service restaurant, where I felt very strongly about them needing kitchen. The traditional, they have salad station, saute station, bar station. It just seemed like a natural fit for kitchen. I think we underestimated maybe the demographics of the restaurant support team, right? And in the back of house, really, where they had been there for so long and kind of were stuck in their ways, that we didn't identify that properly in terms of really ensuring that we gave them the support they needed, really like hands on. I think it should have been more maybe boots on the ground, people working with them, making sure that they felt good about it. And maybe it needed more buy-in from some of the corporate operators. But really, it just became something where it was different. It was change. It didn't feel right. It felt clunky for them. And so instead of keeping with it and working through these issues, it kind of moved on, went back to chip printing. And it really sucks, right? Because we felt like that was going to have a huge operational lift for them in their other locations. And it just needed some time. And so I think we did some learning from that, of how do we ensure we're setting them up for better success? How do we make sure that everyone's clear on what the goals of this are? And how do we establish better training for those operators and more hands-on? And maybe some of this aren't a good fit, right? And then we can learn that as well. Just because it's good technology doesn't mean it's going to be good for this concept. So I'd say that's one where I feel like, I myself personally could have done better, right? I wouldn't put that on anybody else, but that's kind of one that I would have for sure.
I think the idea that you have to not only the buy-in, no matter what you're implementing or consulting on, but also really clearly outlining what the goals are. And I think that was, from what I heard from you just now, that's my takeaway. It's like knowing having everybody understand the reason and the goals that you're trying to reach based on the change outweighs the pain that the change will. Well, I mean, you have to get people to understand that it will outweigh that, in fact. So
that's what I said earlier. Like, involving an operator from the very beginning, and a very strong operator, is a good idea, right? Who's going to be the most pushback person you got? Put them on this project. Let them complain about everything in the world, push everything in the world like they should, and if we can make it work for them and make them happy, I think
make it work for anybody. Yep. All right. Well, then give me one of your most recent success stories where it's like you came in. I'm preferring to hear something where you came in and changed a lot. Like really, you came in and made a big impact. You didn't change the name of the company or anything. Maybe you did. But like you really changed a big aspect of how they do business and the success they kind of saw because of it.
Yeah, for sure. There's one concept we work with, the very large concept, where they had fragmented point of sale, fragmented online ordering, lack of third-party ordering due to those fragmented systems. And really, we came in and just hands-on took over the implementation of the online ordering and the franchisee engagement, right? They were so fragmented where they don't have multi-unit operators, right? Everyone's a onesie twosie, and so you're dealing with 500-600 operators in an individual level. Some of them English wasn't their native language, so trying to fill out forms that are in English that are very complex can be difficult, right? And so we really got on a hands-on approach of we will nurture them, we will give them everything they need to feel supported, right? And so whether that's getting on an individual Zoom call with an operator to walk through how to submit a form to onboard to online ordering, or explain what is third-party ordering and why is this valuable to them, really just making them feel like we are hands-on from the very beginning was amazing. And to see the growth from not having any of this data, not having any of the data that they're getting from now, what they have with these enterprise systems, but two, just the sales explosion from having all these systems integrated and truly an enterprise platform has been amazing to see that growth. And that chain continues to grow exponentially. And we feel like we have a small part in making that happen. Obviously, the concept has to be a good concept, but technology does a big part in growth. And we saw that, firsthand. So that was a very rewarding experience for us, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think basically everything you said about the struggles of your first example, you kind of implemented it in in the second example. So just having that hands-on approach and really getting everybody involved.
I always say failure is okay as long as you learn.
Yeah, there you go.
If you learn, if you fail once, you learn, you don't fail again. Then that I tell my team all the time, you're going to make mistakes. Some of the things I've done, I've had a failure that has led me to learning how to do it right. And so each one of us, you wake up each day and things are going to go right, things are going to go wrong. But as long as you don't have the same things go wrong every single day, I think you're doing good as a person here at 5 and 5 and as a human in the world.
Well, Seth, thank you so much, man. Let's close it out here with tell me a little bit more about 5 and 5. What I'm curious about is what are you most excited about that 5 and 5 is doing in the next 365 days or through 2026? We are just across the border, so I can still say Happy New Year. I think it's still allowed. I don't know what your personal cutoff date is, but mine's usually end of January. So as long as it's still the month of January, you can say Happy New Year. So Happy New Year. What are you most excited about with 5 and 5 heading into 2026?
I think my rules, if I haven't seen you in 2026, then January, so Happy New Year. I think from a personal perspective, I think I'm very excited about, the continued growth of our team. From the team members we keep adding, benefits we keep adding, we're really trying to make sure that we're very competitive in the field. So I'm very excited about how, as we mature as a company, how those things are working out from a benefit perspective. I think, other fun things that we're really, we're happy with is we take our teams on regional retreats. So we have multiple regional retreats that we're planning, and I'm very, very excited about, where the team just gets to go online and have fun for a little while. From a business perspective, I'm very excited about our back office. We recently launched back office support. And so really managing inventory for many brands across some of the enterprise inventory systems has been a natural growing thing for us, right? Where brands came to us and said, we want you to do this. And we said, well, we don't know how to do it. Never done it before, but maybe we can learn. And it's crazy to see some of these partners being so trusting of us to do that. And the team has gone, above and beyond, and we've built an inventory team now. And so I'm excited to see that continue growing as a service. And we're looking at other things like analytics from a loyalty perspective and some other service offerings that could be helpful to us in the future. But that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at continue refining processes, systems that we work with, and continue growing and with other technology partners that are emerging in the space.
Well, we're excited to see where you guys end up going, and of course, continuing our partnership as well with you guys with on the GoTab side. But if anybody is looking to find more information about what you guys are offering, what's the best way they can get in contact with you besides just looking at the show notes of this podcast?
Absolutely. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, Seth Burtis, or go to our website. It's 5and5.com. Feel free to reach out there. You can also just email sales@5and5.com, and you'll work with me. I would love to talk with you as a brand and see how 5 and 5 can support you from your online ordering, point of sale, loyalty, or really strategy consulting. We'd love to see how we can be a fit.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. That's really what it comes down to. Seth, thank you so much, and congratulations on your recent being named as the CEO of 5 and 5. And I can't wait to see what you guys do next.
Absolutely. Thanks, Adam, and go Patriots.
There you go. Cheers.